I need you to understand something before I tell you what happened. This is not a story I heard from somebody else. This is my life, my house, my husband, my mistake. And by the time I finished learning the truth, I was standing in an empty living room, holding a folder full of fake medical papers, realizing I had sold my father's house for a lie. My name is Lily Harper, and if you had asked me 2 years ago whether I believed in love, I would have told you yes without hesitation. I lived in Cape May, New Jersey, in the house my father built with his own hands. It sat near the coast, a pale blue house with white shutters, a porch swing, and windows that caught the morning light in a way that always made me feel safe. My father, Walter Harper, was a builder. He spent his whole life making homes for other people, and when he finally built ours, he told me it was meant to be mine someday. When he died, the house became mine. No mortgage, no debt, just memories in every room. I met my husband, Evan Harper, at a fundraiser in Philadelphia. He was charming in that quiet, polished way that makes women believe they found someone different. He laughed easily, spoke kindly, and looked at me like I was worth his full attention. We dated for 2 years before he proposed. We got married on the beach behind my father's house, with string lights overhead and the ocean behind us. For the first year, I thought I had won at life. Then, Evan started changing. At first, it was small things, mood swings, long silences, stress over money. He talked about investments, business opportunities, and deals that always sounded better than they ended up being. I told myself every marriage had pressure. I told myself he was just trying to build our future. Then, one rainy Thursday in February, everything shifted. Evan came home looking pale and shaken. He sat down at the kitchen table and told me the doctor had found something on a scan. A few days later, he said the words that changed my life. "Lily, it's lymphoma, stage 3. I remember how my stomach dropped. I remember the way he covered his face with both hands. I remember thinking I was married to a man who might die. I cried with him that night. I promised we would fight it together. I promised I would do whatever it took. I had no idea he was already fighting for something else. The next few months became a blur of medical bills, treatment claims, clinic names, and expensive procedures I did not understand. Evan said he needed to see a specialist near Philadelphia. He said the treatment was aggressive. He said insurance would only cover part of it. And because I loved him, I believed him. He always had a reason I couldn't go with him. The clinic didn't allow visitors. He was too weak for company. He needed privacy. He needed me to trust him. So I did. I should have noticed the details sooner. I have a background in estate paperwork and contract work. I used to be a paralegal in Philadelphia before I went freelance. I know what real documents look like. I know what legitimate medical forms should contain. I know what a fake paper trail feels like when you've spent years studying the real thing. But grief makes you stupid in the ways fear knows how to use. The bills got bigger. 11,000. 19,000. Then 60,000. Then almost 90,000 for a specialized protocol that Evan said was his last chance. That was when he asked me to sell the house. He didn't ask like a man demanding it. He asked like a dying husband begging for his life. I'll never forget the look on his face. "Lily," he said, "if we don't do this, I don't know if I'm gonna make it." I loved him enough to destroy myself for him, so I agreed. Selling that house felt like cutting out my own heart. I watched young buyers walk through the rooms where I grew up. I watched the porch swing sway in the wind one last time. I signed papers with shaking hands while Evan sat beside me acting grateful, fragile, and brave. He told me the money would go directly to treatment. He told me I was saving his life. But after the sale started moving forward, I began noticing things that didn't make sense. He got careful with his phone. Too careful. He started taking calls outside. He kept his messages hidden. He acted irritated whenever I asked about appointments. Once, when I asked which clinic he was going to, he snapped at me so fast it scared me. Then came the first real crack in the lie. I found a hotel receipt in the pocket of his jacket. Charleston, South Carolina. $340. 2 weeks earlier. He had told me he was at a clinic appointment that night. Charleston was nowhere near his supposed treatment center. That receipt sat in my drawer for 3 weeks before I did anything with it. I kept trying to explain it away. Maybe it was old. Maybe it was a work trip. Maybe I was being paranoid. But the feeling in my chest wouldn't go away, so I called the clinic. A receptionist answered, polite and calm. I gave her Evan's name. Then she paused. "Ma'am," she said, "we don't have any patient by that name." I asked her to check again. She checked again. Same answer. No Evan Harper, no file, no treatment record. No doctor named Ansel Cole in that office. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped my phone. That night, after Evan fell asleep, I opened his laptop and started searching. The clinic website looked real enough at first glance, but the details were wrong. No license number, no proper registration, no medical verification. I checked the state database myself. Nothing. No doctor, no oncology practice, no treatment center. The entire thing was fake. And when I say fake, I mean every single piece of it. The diagnosis, the clinic, the prescriptions, the fear. All of it. The next day, I followed him. He told me he had a treatment appointment 2 hours away. Instead of driving toward Philadelphia, he drove straight into the city, parked in a downtown garage, and walked into a mid-rise office building like a man heading to lunch, not chemotherapy. I stayed across the street and waited. 40 minutes later, he came back out with a woman, younger than me, stylish, confident. And the way he looked at her made my blood run cold. He laughed. He touched her back. He held the door for her like she was someone he wanted to impress. That was the moment I stopped being a wife and started becoming a witness. I hired a private investigator the next week. Her name was Rachel Doyle. According to the report, she and Evan had been seeing each other for over a year. Over a year. Which meant it had started before the fake diagnosis, before the house, before the bills, before he ever looked me in the face and told me he was dying. The investigator found emails too. Messages about once the house money clears. Messages about Charleston. Messages about starting fresh. Just the two of them. That was the part that broke me. He wasn't using the lie to stay alive. He was using the lie to take my house and leave me behind. I sat at my kitchen table all night, staring at those emails. And for the first time, I stopped crying. That's when I got dangerous. I called my lawyer the next morning. I told the realtor to pause the closing. I froze every step I could. Then I got the clinic in writing to confirm Evan was never a patient there. I got the receptionist to sign a statement. I gathered the receipt, the emails, the investigator's report, and every fake document Evan had used to manipulate me. He thought I was still the same woman he had been fooling for months. He thought I was scared, helpless, and ready to hand over the money. He had no idea I was preparing to bury his lie before he could collect a single dollar. Closing day came 6 days later. Evan walked into the title office wearing a crisp blue shirt, smiling like a man who thought his future was already paid for. He shook hands with the buyer. He asked when the money would hit our account. Then my lawyer walked in and placed a folder on the table. Inside was everything. The clinic denial, the fake records, the investigator's photos, the emails, the proof that Evan Harper had lied to his wife, faked an illness, and tried to steal the house my father left me. The room went silent. The buyer backed out immediately. The realtor couldn't even look at him. And Evan? He stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "There's no closing today," I said. "There's no illness. And there's no house for you to take." He tried to talk, he tried to explain, he tried the same smooth voice that had fooled me before. It didn't work. Not this time. I filed for fraud. My lawyer moved fast. The sale collapsed. The deed stayed in my name. And Evan moved out within the month with nothing but the clothes he could carry and the lies he couldn't outrun. Rachel left him too. Apparently she liked the version of him she thought existed. She didn't like the one who got exposed. As for me, I stayed in the house. I kept the porch swing. I kept the sea wind. I kept the only thing he never should have touched. The truth. People always think revenge has to be loud. It doesn't. Sometimes revenge is a quiet voice in a title office. Sometimes revenge is stopping the sale. Sometimes revenge is keeping the house and letting the liar walk away with nothing. I used to think love meant sacrifice. Now I know love without truth is just a trap. And the man who told me he was dying, he wasn't dying at all. He was just losing the life he tried to steal from me.